our continuing previews of the season, Big Ten previews. Next up, we did defensive linemen last week. It's the linebackers this week. And here's how we've done this. One of us has taken the lead in that, given our list from 10 through 1. We'll do the top five, or the bottom five, if you will, first, then the top five next. And then the other one responds. In the meantime, we want to hear your comments as well on who you think the best linebackers in the Big Ten are this season. Put those comments in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Chris, take it away. Number 10, rock and roll, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, Eric. This we talked about it a little bit beforehand. This could be fun because linebackers were not easy to do this year. So let's start it out number 10. Let's go over to Nebraska. And I've got Luke Reamer from Nebraska in there. He's returning as a fifth year senior, had a good 2022, 86 tackles, a sack, 5 passes defensed, and an interception. He was actually down a little from the previous year, but over the last couple years, he's averaged 8.6 tackles per game, played his best game against top opponents in Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota, and Oklahoma last year. So I look for a big year from him this year. Number 9, we're going to travel over to Northwestern. Northwestern, I actually have 2 Northwestern guys on this. The first one is Xander Mueller. Mueller comes in at number 9. He had 87 tackles last season, 3 sacks, a fumble recovery, 2 passes defense, 2 interceptions. Nice little stat line. Showed a lot of grit for the Wildcats, but you got to kind of wonder, Eric, was his stat line amassed because of his talent or because of the number of opportunities that he had? Because as we all know, that Northwestern offense was nothing short of horrid. And at number 8, I've got his teammate, Bryce Gallagher. Now, Gallagher had 100 tackles and is one of the few guys with 100 tackles that is this low on the list. He had 1.5 sacks, an interception for the Wildcats last season as well. Very good player on a very bad team. Number 7, and I may get some criticism for this because I got him down the list a little bit, but that's Steel Chambers. Chambers really grew into that linebacker position in 2022. Finished the year second in tackles on the team behind Tommy Eichenberg, 77 tackles, 2 sacks, a fumble recovery, 2 passes defense, 2 interceptions. Really nice stat line. And Eric, as we know, Chambers really showed out versus Georgia in that final game. He had 8 tackles, half a sack, an interception. I think he's poised to have a great season this year. Would not surprise me if he's not in the top 5 by the end of the season for me. Number 6, Eric, I'm going to prove what an uncultured swine I am right here because we are going to go up to Luke Fickle's Wisconsin Badgers.
Oh, this you're gonna butcher this one, man.
Mahima Njongmeta.
You
Well,
did
this
get the first name. You did great.
Njongmeta, I believe it is. We'll go with that.
Maybe
But
I don't know.
hey, he had a great season last year either way. 95 tackles, 3.5 sacks, an interception, and a pass defense. Was third team All Big Ten. And you know what? With Nick Herbig gone, he should be the man on that Badgers defense this
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
So
Who did
that
who
is
did
my 10 through 6, Eric. What do you
who'd
think?
you have at number 10 again? I missed that. I was messing
Luke
around with.
Reamer from Nebraska.
Okay, I didn't have him either. All right, I had I had two of your five. I had three of your five overall. I've got the Wisconsin linebacker much higher than you, but I had Ernest Hausman from Michigan, number 10. He's a transfer from Nebraska. He had 54 tackles and a sack last year. Number 9, I had Cody Lindenberg from Minnesota, 71 tackles and a sack last year. Number 8, I had where I had Chambers, and I'll talk about him in just a second. Number 7 was Bryce Gallagher. I wanted to put him higher, Chris, but
I did
given
too.
given everything that's happened in Northwestern this offseason, it's just really hard for me to.
Do you find it surprising that he and Muir are both still at Northwestern and doing
Yeah,
what's
I
going on?
do. I do, yeah. And number 6, you probably have this guy higher, and that is Nick Jackson from Iowa. 104 tackles and 5 sacks last year from Virginia. So I had two of the five, and then like I said, I have the Wisconsin linebacker much higher than you. But let's talk about Steel Chambers for a second, since this is an Ohio State podcast. Steel Chambers is a national freaking treasure.
He is.
If you listen or watch his interviews, he is freaking hilarious. I've met the young man in person. He is not a backwards at all, not ashamed. He's a talker. He's a great trash talker, I've heard. And the dude is just energy,
Yeah.
complete energy. Brought in as a running back, switched over to the linebacker room. 2 years ago, he was our best linebacker.
Mhm.
That was before Tommy Eichenberg emerged last year, and then at the end of the season, 2 years ago. But last year became kind of the best linebacker we've had in a while at Ohio State. But Steel Chambers really solidified that room when there was a lot of chaos in that room 2 seasons ago, back in 2021, I guess it was. Um, so yeah, hats off to Steel Chambers.
And a
I'm
pretty good
glad
all
he's
around
back.
athlete, Eric, because if you, I don't know if you heard much about what happened at the Cardale Jones celebrity
I have not.
softball game, but he actually finished second to Emeka Egbuka in the home run derby.
Emeka Egbuka won the home run
He did.
derby. Dude's a stud.
Yeah.
Dude's a stud. Donald Hoffer, how's it going tonight, Donald? Good to see you tonight, buddy. If Tommy doesn't finish top three in the Buckus Award this year, I think it'll be a disappointment of a season from him on a personal scale.
I think
Yeah,
he doesn't win it. That's a disappointment for him. I
yeah,
really
I
do.
I agree with that. All the preseason prognosticators have him as the top linebacker in the Big Ten, and a lot of them have him as a top linebacker in the country. And there is some buzz that he might be the top linebacker drafted next season. So definitely, if not round one, definitely round two or three, second day pick if he doesn't go in the first day in the first round. Speaking of Steel, Ryan Wickerham, Steele's mom's coming to my tailgate this year. Dude, if she's anything like he is, she would be a great interview as well.
Oh yeah,
She would be fun. No doubt about that, dude. So we differ a little bit, and I knew we would because I'll be
that's
honest,
good because we're always in lockstep. It seems like on so many of these things we do.
we are, but I will also say this, out of all the position groups in the Big Ten that we've looked at so
It's the
far,
toughest.
the linebackers in the Big Ten are kind of weak. Used to be the linebacking play in the Big Ten was tops.
Yeah.
And it feels like there's been a little bit of a drop off here. So is it the style of offenses and play in college football? Probably. A lot of defenses are running 4-2-5s
I
now.
was gonna say, let's remember there used to be 3 and 4 linebackers to choose
Yeah,
from. You know.
yeah.
All
So
right,
that
so
that goes into it as well. All
let's
right,
go into the
top
top
five.
five, Eric. And I'll tell you what, don't tell Cal Halliday there's been a drop off because Cal Halliday from Michigan State led the conference in tackles last year, 120 tackles. Again, no surprise given the number of opportunities with that Spartans offense being as inept as it was last year. But 7 games he registered 10 or more tackles. Only had one game of less than 6, and that was comes in a blowout win versus Akron, where he saw very little playing time. Halliday's final stat line for the year: 120 tackles, 1.5 sacks, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, good enough to win all Big Ten first team honors. You know, he didn't show a lot of coverage as much last year or as he did the previous year, but you know he can cover a little bit too. In 2021, he actually had 2 interceptions as well, with a similar stat line across the board. You know, down a few tackles, but pretty similar than that. Number 4, yeah, I had to give him one, Eric. So I went with Junior Colson from that team up north. Colson was a bit of a tackling machine for the Wolverines last year: 101 tackles, 2 sacks, a pass defense. He had at least 5 tackles in all but 2 of those games, and again, those were blowout games versus Rutgers and Hawaii. He topped the 10 tackle mark 4 times. Should be in for another solid season this year. That top 3. Number 3, we're going to go over to Penn State. That's where we're going to find Abdul Carter. Carter had a huge impact as a freshman: 56 tackles, 6.5 sacks, uh, 2 forced fumbles, and a pass defense. Now, he didn't get 100 tackles like everybody else in this list, but you know what? Remember 2 things. First, he was only a freshman. And second, his 6.5 sacks was fourth best in the Big Ten and second best among Big Ten linebackers, only trailing Nick Herbig of Wisconsin. So the future's really bright for this young man, and that should scare a lot of Big Ten quarterbacks. Number 2, this is where I went with the transfer, Eric. I went with Virginia to Iowa transfer Nick Jackson. Jackson was a beast the last three seasons as one of the top linebackers in the ACC. Over the last three seasons, he's had over 100 tackles, over three sacks, and over three passes defensed each season. Last year was his best year: 104 tackles, five sacks, four passes defensed, and a fumble recovered. Now he goes to Iowa, where despite the ineptitude of the offense, Kirk Ferentz always has a dominant defense, and it's usually fueled by a tremendous linebacker. And you know what? This year, this could be him. And number one, that's right, Tommy Two Thumbs, Tommy Eichenberg, 120 tackles, two and a half sacks, three passes defensed, an interception, which led to a touchdown. Could have easily come out, I think, last year and been a day two draft pick. Returns for the season this year. He's the leader of what should be a drastically improved defense in Noel's second year, and I think he is easily the best linebacker in the conference, if not in the nation. So there is my 5-3-1. I have number 5, Cal Halliday; number 4, Junior Colson; 3, Abdul Carter; 2, Nick Jackson; and number 1, Tommy Eichenberg.
All right, so we're pretty close on this actually. At number 5, I got Cal Halliday as well. Man, dude, 120 tackles, one and a half sacks, second only to Tommy Eichenberg, as far as these returning tackle leaders in the Big Ten for linebackers. I got Abdul Carter, number 4 from Penn State. Again, tackle numbers down a little bit compared to everybody else, but those 6.5 sacks are definitely impressive and something that a lot of offensive coordinators and offensive lines need to be aware of. Penn State's linebacking core is supposed to be the best in the Big Ten, according to the experts. I don't know
I
about
don't
that
see
one.
it.
I don't know about that. I think Ohio State's better. I think that even Michigan might be better. But Iowa Northwestern's got a couple guys like you brought up. We'll see. We'll see what the stats tell us at the end of the year, and the stops, the getting off the field on third down, things like that. Number 2, here's where I have the Wisconsin linebacker Mwama Njongmeta. That's close, maybe. No, uncultured swine. Yeah, you bet.
Yes, we are.
95 tackles, 3.5 sacks for Bucky Badgers. Top linebacker, and given Luke Fickell's style of defense, he's going to thrive, absolutely thrive. And then Tommy Two Thumbs, without a doubt, number 1. I mean, it's not even a debate. I would say most of the other Big Ten podcasts on Big Banter would have to agree with us that Tommy Eichenberg he's the head of the class in this linebacking core. And you know what? I'm tempted to put a third Buckeye on here just based on potential, but
PJ.
let's see how things go for Mr. Hicks this
Well,
season.
and I'll tell you, Eric, there were a couple that were outside looking in, like Aaron Casey from Indiana. I think
Yeah.
he's got a lot of potential there. But do you know that even the Michigan guys are acknowledging uh, Tommy Two Thumbs as the man in the Big Ten?
Yeah, and they're
So
also